Yes. All right. Joining me is CA Conservative, possibly unwillingly being recorded at this time, but here,
Always.
but here to talk about world affairs. What was it that you were saying to me before we started recording about Paraguay
Oh, the right won by a ton.
and who
Total
predicted this?
massacre.
This guy did.
Yeah. Well, even I don't even think you predicted overall majority in the Senate.
Yeah, no, I mean the Colorado Party has always ran Paraguay. That's just it happened when it was a dictatorship, and it's happened ever since it's been a democracy.
I mean, they lost in 2008.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I checked that. The problem for the left is they ran a dude who's lost his last 3 elections.
Doesn't sounds like the Republicans in Illinois or in
Did we rerun a loser?
I mean, in which state did that happen?
Kenya?
I'm thinking maybe Kansas, with Chris Kobach. Who
Well, he
else?
actually won. He actually won last year, so he's not a very good example.
Right, although
No,
he
this is a very Latin American thing. He keeps running under different parties and he keeps losing. Although the really scary thing is that the left they didn't even clear 28% of the vote. Like they were only 6 points ahead of a dude who wants to exterminate all Brazilians.
seriously?
Yeah,
Wow. I'm
he
guessing
was
they're not.
he was kicked out of the Senate for that. For a
And
guy, this guy's got he got 26 or 22% of the vote. He apparently attacked a judge and then defecated in the office of the judge's secretary, and then he punched out another electoral judge and stole his hat.
wow.
So no real surprise there.
Yeah. Paraguay, yeah. It's a right-wing country. It's always been a place where the international left's dreams have gone to die. You know, it's in many ways it's basically the conservative Bolivia.
Yeah, they are pretty similar.
Yeah. Um, well, when's the Greek election taking place? You said there's an election coming up soon in Greece.
The 21st.
21st. Oh, it's a week after the Turkish election.
Yeah, I'm sure. I doubt they've understated the irony of that. There's no good choices there. What a shit show.
Oh, it's a Turkish nationalist versus a Turkish nationalist.
No, it's a Turkish nationalist versus a Turkish socialist,
Oh my goodness.
of which there are no reasonable choices. I mean, just because he's not totally anti-West doesn't mean he's anti-East, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think although Erdogan was widely expected to lose, I think the latest polls have actually shown this is a tight race.
I think it's getting worse for him, just in broad terms,
Yeah.
which
Uh,
is always good.
I don't know if we should count him out at this point.
There'll be lots of fraud, but I doubt enough to save him.
Yeah. Let's switch my camera off. So what else is happening it feels like it's been a slow news month, but it's been anything but. We've had the number one cable news guy on cable get fired.
Well, I heard he said some rather offensive things about the wrong people,
He
which is always
basically said
bad.
that the January 6th protesters beating up a guy were disrespectful because that's not how white people fight.
Yeah, I didn't. I took that more as a joke, but it was his other things that were a bit brutal.
Um, I think he called a correspondent at Fox News a word that starts with C and rhymes with blunt.
Yeah, I'm not Australian enough to say it. Sorry.
I didn't know that was an Australian thing.
You've never listened to Australians before?
I've never seen heard Australians use the C word. I'm guessing you have though.
It's the way we say hello.
Wow.
No, the real disaster is going to be Chile's election in 4 days.
Oh, oh, is this legislative elections?
No, it's to reform the constitution.
Oh, they're doing this again?
Yes. The funny bit is the polls have the left at 17%, the right at 22% maybe, and 60% undecided. So
That's not a good thing going into an election that's going to decide who's going to rewrite the Constitution.
it's the right has much more. The left is unhappy with the way that um yeah the compromise was proposed, but I suspect it'll fail again. I mean, they murdered the Constitution before, and I highly doubt it's going to occur
Mhm.
again if it's too aggressive. I don't particularly know what they don't like about the current Constitution.
I actually found it
Seems
amusing
reasonable.
when the votes came in on the first when they defeated the first Constitution. I was a bit amused that the initial results coming in from overseas had yes up by a lot, and then when the stuff came in from Chile itself, it was a no by a lot. You didn't
Sounds
follow?
about right, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've always wondered why overseas Chileans are a lot more left wing than Chileans in the country, or
A
why
lot of
Chile
them probably had to flee in the past from the
from
dictatorship, and they've just
Pinochet.
carried that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, actually, among Chileans abroad, the ones in guess which ones were the only ones abroad in which country were the only ones that voted against Boric?
Either here or Russia, probably.
Israel.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Um, Everywhere else, the expats went for Boric by a lot.
That's funny.
Yeah, and there's been a judicial reform bill in Israel that's been stalled apparently, or are they still going to try to pass it?
Come up in the summer, I believe.
It's coming up in the summer. Oh wow. Yeah. Actually, I mean, Netanyahu is lucky he secured himself a good majority, and able to stave off elections for another 4 years. Polls show that if they were held now, they'd lose in a landslide.
Oh yeah. The indecisiveness is the problem. I would have gone ahead. I would have let the general strike happen.
Oh wow. And and
I think
and
it was. I think it was a good bill.
yeah, I didn't like the part that basically the part of the bill that basically said Netanyahu is free from prosecution. It's like the what is the opposite of a bill of attainder?
Well, I mean, the charges against him are strange on on their own, and he won. So the election was a referendum on him, and he came out on the winning side. So
Although because of Israel's weird system, the votes were almost even, but because the smaller left wing parties didn't get enough, they basically just didn't get in Knesset altogether.
just getting revenge for that happening to the right one or two times ago.
Yeah, yeah. The big surprise for me was Meretz failing to make the threshold.
Really, they've been struggling for years. They have no ideas aside from disliking Bibi. And if you are an ardent communist, you may as well vote for the Labor Party, which is also almost dying. They almost fell below the threshold
Yeah.
too.
I was actually surprised that Avigdor Lieberman didn't try to rejoin the ruling coalition after the previous government fell.
He hates the religious parties. He'd never do it.
Mhm. But I mean, he otherwise agrees with the right wing, like on basically everything else. Like he's an Israeli nationalist when it comes to security. His appeal though is more, again, you're right, because his appeal is more with Russian Jews, like Soviet expats.
Yeah, a group that is dying out in relevance and overall political strength, which is quite good to see because they're usually a group that is very left wing.
Really? I never thought Yisrael Beitenu was that left wing. Maybe I could be wrong though.
Yeah, or perhaps I'm wrong.
Yeah. Um, um, I've thought about the possibility. I've been thinking about this lately. Is that What's gonna happen when Mahmoud Abbas dies?
It all falls apart.
The whole thing falls apart. Um, I mean, I'm surprised the PA, the PA I think really got a real stay of execution when Abbas took over from Arafat. But I mean, I do you think they'll hold elections if he dies? Hello?
They'll never hold elections.
Yeah, because if they hold elections, Hamas would win.
Oh, by a landslide.
What do you think Hamas? I mean, yeah, this is all hypotheticals. I just figured that if Hamas was elected, the first thing they'd do is dissolve the PA entirely.
No, the first thing they would do is ignore the election and stay in power regardless.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess I was just talking about this with Kay Fellows a couple nights ago, and that it's really upsetting, like, just everything that's happened, and the fact that an entire generation of people hate each other, and that there's an entire generation of particularly of Palestinians have who've grown to hate Israelis and want the entire country gone.
Uh, unfortunate, yes. Surprising, no.
Yeah. Because you know that when people say from the river to the sea, they mean they want Israel eradicated.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I mean, you saw that tweet that Rashida Tlaib put out, right? Congresswoman from Michigan, squad member, uh, one of the anti-Semites in chief in Congress.
No, I know who she is. I don't know the tweet you're referring to.
Basically, she basically accused McCarthy of lying about Israel and saying that Israel has been depopulating Arabs for like and Palestinians ever since its creation, and its creation essentially was in blood.
Well, that bit's not wrong, but the rest of it is.
Um, wow. I mean, what happened? You know this. What happened was at midnight on May 14th, 1948, the British left. Israel declared independence. Literally 4 hours later, they're invaded on I think three or four fronts.
Yeah, I mean they were fighting for years, I mean, not years, but at least months before that of, open civil war. Um, the British is just them picking a date.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, did the British? Do you think the British knew when they withdraw that Israel was going to be invaded?
Almost certainly.
Um, yeah. Um, I actually saw a very funny factoid that I didn't know, which is that apparently it was only last year that England and Wales legalized no-fault divorce.
Maybe formally, but I think they've tolerated that since the 70s, haven't they?
Yeah, but I think it was only formalized last year, which I actually saw a story in my feed. The reason why I bring this up is that apparently Texas Republicans are
I did see that, which is
yeah.
funny given that idiot, what's his name? The one who abused his pregnant wife.
Oh, Steven Crowder.
Yeah, what a prick.
Yeah, the Texas GOP apparently has just added it to their platform.
Not surprising. I can't remember if they had a reasonable chairman now after. Is Alan West still the chairman? I can't
No,
remember.
Kat Parks, I think, maybe. I follow her on Twitter. Yeah, Kat Parks is never mind. She is the past Texas GOP vice chair.
A prestigious position, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Um, yeah, I mean, Alan, let me look up. Is Alan West still in charge? I think he may have stepped down, but I could be wrong. Right?
Nobody who matters pays attention to the state party anyway, so.
Yeah. Oh, he retired a couple years ago. He was chair of the GOP for almost a year.
Probably finally stole all the money he could.
Yeah.
Oh, did I say that out loud?
You
Sorry
did.
about that.
I mean, let's see. If there's anything in my feed that's worth commenting on. I'm actually surprised about how little we actually have to talk about this time.
Well, did
Uh,
you see Dems and CA47 got some bad news today?
oh yeah, their endorsed candidate, just was cited for DUI.
Yep.
Yeah, that seat's flipping, unless Katie Porter jumps back into the race.
Or if we run that idiot we ran in 2020.
Yeah, no. People were saying from the beginning that Katie Porter was probably the most favored of those Orange County incumbents. I didn't see it at the time, but once
Well,
they,
no, the one Dem is not the Dem from the district right next to her should be way more favored than she ever was.
I'm
But
talking about in
yes.
2020, in 2020.
Oh,
See, I always saw Katie Porter as too left wing for that district, but I ended up being wrong in the sense that Republicans put up the one guy who couldn't beat her.
we probably would have lost anyway.
Even with Peggy
Um,
Huang.
maybe she wasn't that pot. She lacked a lot of the institutional connections that our other people there had.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it is very funny. What did I saw a good meme. It was we can't win Central Ohio, but we can win Orange County still. It's like
Yeah.
how do you even do that?
Okay, it says here on Newswire, which I assume is Nikki Haley's spokesperson. I mean, a news source. You follow them?
Basically, the I don't. I only follow DeSantis news sources.
You know, there's the Twitter handle is Newswire underscore US. And they tweet out a lot of news updates, but I think the guy who posts for it is a Nikki Haley fanboy.
Probably there are a couple of them out there. I've never met a reasonable one, but
I mean, I thought I was going to be supporting Nikki Haley.
there's only two choices this time around.
Yes, Donald Trump and Asa Hutchinson.
Yeah, and the one of them gets more and more pathetic by the day.
Yeah.
Well, we did obviously. If you wanted some news, North Carolina had a banner week last week.
Oh yeah, they got the supermajority, and the state Supreme Court is basically now saying, yeah, heck yeah, you can gerrymander.
Yeah, I mean, all of the previous rulings were absolute garbage. Eric has spoken of this before. It was basically just whatever they could have used in the Constitution to justify it, they did. And as soon as anybody reasonably came in, they were going to lose.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm surprised though they got the supermajority though.
well, from what I've heard, um, what? From what I've heard, there could be something to that. The rumors of a relationship.
Oh, oh, my goodness. How scandalous.
Well, neither party's married, so
Yeah.
not really.
So she's
Of
basically
course,
dating a GOP lawmaker.
I believe the speaker, in fact, is the
Oh,
story.
oh my, wow.
So I guess he's
Is
that good.
is that legal?
Should be.
Hmm.
No, they messed up. The reason why, they kept going to her house, protesting in her office.
Mm-hmm.
They're very annoying people, so
Yeah. Well, don't worry. Josh Stein is going to be elected governor because Republicans are going to nominate Mark Robinson.
I I I think a lot of them they're overly confident they're going to beat him. He won once.
Yeah.
He was just as crazy back then too.
Mm-hmm.
So
And so did Josh Stein.
he did, but I don't think we had a terribly serious candidate in the other race or in the AG's race at the time.
Yeah, and yet he just like narrowly eked out a win, I think.
Yeah, I think it was surprising how narrow it was, let alone Robinson, who won. I think he was one of the wider ones on the ticket.
Yeah, that's a bit worrying. Describe a Biden Robinson voter.
Uh, black rule, doesn't pay attention to politics all that often. But he saw the clip of Robertson in the black church. Um, and he's good there. There won't be that many of them, but they do exist.
Yeah.
No,
Um,
I mean it's things. It's not going to be the next Georgia. Our margins will continue to improve in the rural areas.
although I saw something,
Um,
I actually was just talking about this. Some of the trends in some of these Sun Belt states are actually a little bit concerning for Republicans. Like, for example, Georgia, in particular, Arizona as well. But North Carolina, if my calculations are correct, was less than half a point to the right of the country in 2022.
sounds about right. It's not very elastic.
Yeah,
Um,
meaning that if that trend continues, if that continues, then Biden could win North Carolina.
he could, but he didn't last time. And as I said,
Yeah,
it's not going to swing perfectly with the country.
right.
Um,
A similar,
the
yeah, I was gonna say a similar situation to what took place in Texas, which I believe this time was only 8 points to the right of the country. Um,
sounds about right. Texas may eventually be concerning. It's kind of a 2028 problem.
yeah. So I mean,
Um,
yeah, Texas.
I don't think we're going to see the same trends that we've seen. I think we've lost most of the more difficult voters.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
but that we don't have that much more room to fall. We would have to really screw up to have Cruz be vulnerable,
I mean,
which is code for
Democrats
it's going
just
to be
got a
lean
really
R
good
on election
recruit.
day.
Democrats just got a really,
They got an average recruit
yeah. I mean,
against a guy who hopefully will be too depressed to do anything stupid for the next 2 years. So
wow. I mean,
too busy at home, you know.
Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, I mean, obviously likes his podcast better than he likes his Senate seat. Um,
Yeah, he should leave. Let somebody
'Cause
better take
he's
it.
gonna work. He's gonna work for Ben Shapiro in a couple of years. Does
More
doesn't he?
productive than being in the Senate.
And doesn't he already have a podcast with Michael Nels?
I don't think so. I think he's been on it, but
Oh, okay. I mean, I thought he had a podcast with someone from the Daily Wire.
maybe at one point. I don't know if he does now. I
Yeah.
don't keep that much track. I've actually met Michael before.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I've gotten
met
quote
one.
tweeted by him.
That must have been entertaining.
Yeah. Um, it is amazing just how when you really question conservatives, they really don't believe in the Bill of Rights at all.
Well, no, well, not his bunch anyway.
Yeah.
The Bill of Rights has something for everybody. Um,
Florida just signed a law that is a direct violation of the Eighth Amendment.
the repaying fines bit or the non-anonymous
No, making
juries bit. I
child
don't
rape
know.
eligible for the death penalty.
I think there's 5 votes on the court for allowing it.
But the court has made it clear that you can't do that per Kennedy v. Louisiana.
Yeah, but you know what's changed since then, right?
There's been several new justices.
Yeah, I mean, if I look at Kennedy, it was a 5-4 decision with Kennedy writing. You're gonna lose that today, so I think they have a good chance of winning.
But I was actually seeing a thread that in order to overturn Kennedy, logically you would have to also overturn rulings that prevent people with disabilities or who are insane or who are juveniles from being executed.
I don't think they'd have a problem with that.
Wow.
I mean, they shouldn't. They won't decide more than they have to. Um,
Um, I mean, what here's something that I actually see would be a very, very interesting play at the Supreme Court. Attorney General Ashley Moody, in defending the Florida law, brings the entire Eighth Amendment jurisprudence into question, basically saying the whole proportionality test is wrong. The
it's
eighth,
survived fairly well, even in the current court. There's been no real move to um short it any more aggressively than it already has been.
The
Um,
and in response, the ACLU goes even further goes further the other way and say the Eighth Amendment categorically does not allow the death penalty at all. And I actually think there may be 4 votes on the Supreme Court open to that.
Unlikely. I don't think Gorsuch would
No,
would
I think
tolerate that.
Barrett. I think Barrett is the wild card.
Unlikely. Um, Mostly because do we have any cases where she was on the court for?
I think Eric at one time mentioned that in the past, Amy Coney Barrett has expressed skepticism of the death penalty.
Maybe in the past. She is Catholic after all. But I mean, here we have a case. She was on the court. Um, that basically on the issue of holding minors for life for murder, it was 6-3.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
you're not, I don't see any real risk of her defecting, especially because the other liberals will want to strike the death penalty down in general. So,
Yeah.
I mean, even here we have, oh, this is a funny one. This is on the insanity defense. The ruling was 6-3 with Kagan writing the majority. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
One of the few where she defected, which is not rare enough, I think.
You mean the Supreme Court overturned the insanity defense?
Put restrictions on it.
Oh. Oh, so they basically loosened the ability to plead insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, let's see. What's this happening? Also, you know that the Writers Guild went on strike?
I like the quality of what they've been doing has been pretty good for the past few years, so I'm not sad to see it.
Yeah. Um, it says here, Brandon Presley raised more money between January and May of an election year than any Democratic candidate for governor in at least 2 decades.
Sounds about right. They have no trouble raising money now.
Except that I think Reeves is probably going to win.
He will. This isn't 2019, as I saw somebody say.
Yeah. Although I think Presley I think is basically going to be the last gasp of the Mississippi Democratic Party.
Yeah, I mean they'll always be around. They'll always get their 40% of the vote, but
Yeah, Mississippi is one of those weird states. It's not as red as other states, but it is by far the most socially conservative state.
I mean we win what 90% of whites. I mean it's just
Yeah,
obscene.
but it's also a place that I think Mississippi may be the only remaining state where there's still majority opposition to same-sex marriage.
Probably. It sounds about right. Although I'd be surprised if Alabama wasn't on the list too.
I think it's close there, but the last number I saw was 49 support, 47 against.
Perhaps it's not an issue anybody particularly cares about anymore. Not that sane. I mean, you'll have the integralists talking about it, but
Yeah.
nobody else, and they don't matter. So
Speaking of which, oh yeah, we already talked about the whole no fault divorce thing. I mean, I think they're gonna come for it. I think
I
no
doubt it. It's the usual suspects talking. I mean, it's the same thing as every other ridiculous policy position taken by them.
it's why I take it seriously when you have Candace Owens basically arguing that women shouldn't have the right to vote.
I don't think
Um,
I've seen any serious candidates say that.
yeah, I mean, like, I think there's right now a race to the bottom. I think there are Republicans who basically want to see how badly they do with women voters. Like I think they want those margins to go up and up and up and up and up and see. Just it's like I'll see your minus 20% and raise you minus 30%. I'll raise you to minus 40%.
Luckily, I don't think we've beaten Canada yet, so we got to work on that.
At what specifically?
The gender gap in Canada is like 40 points, isn't it?
I didn't realize men were that conservative.
Well, I mean, I think it's more like 55 versus, less than 25.
Wow. Wow. That is a big gap. Um, you mean conservatives can't win with those numbers?
No, and they won't be winning in Canada either. So,
You think Poilievre is not going to win?
no, he may get first place, but
I mean,
every other party's to the left. So,
both Scheer and O'Toole got first place.
well, only on the popular vote. I expect him to win the most seats.
Yeah, I mean, you think the conservatives are going to win the most seats?
Oh, easily. I believe that's what the polls show. I mean, it's what, a 30-seat gap, I think I've seen.
That's enough to win. Um, if they get it within like the over 140 seats, they can cut a deal with the bloc.
Yeah, but that requires cutting a deal with the bloc, who
And
have
then,
not been receptive to negotiations on that,
I mean,
from what I've seen. Perhaps I'm wrong.
it's one of the reasons why the conservatives are willing to bend over backwards to not criticize Quebec for their absolutely horrifying law on religious symbols.
Which wasn't even passed by the bloc, so
I mean, but like the bloc is basically the federal version of the CAQ. I mean, in a sense, it's become that.
not really. The CAQ is a right-wing party. The bloc is not.
Well, didn't the bloc split off from the conservatives in the 80s?
Maybe. I mean,
Like the conservatives basically like or the then progressive conservatives basically split off with the progressive
no, it they split from both parties.
becoming a rump party, the bloc dominating Quebec, and the Reform Party dominating the West.
Yeah, they split off from both parties in the 80s.
Yeah. But I mean, the conservatives can't win, unless the bloc is open to a deal with them.
Hence my point.
Yeah, I mean,
Alberta will be the interesting one.
yeah, I think the polls that suggest that I think there's a real close race between Notley and Smith.
Very close.
Yeah, that one could go either way.
The NDP needs to get really lucky and then find one more seat to get even luckier.
Yeah, and I mean, it's actually kind of funny how in the past all other parties in Alberta have become like non-factors, like complete non-factors.
Why would they be factors?
Well, the Liberals used to hold seats in the Alberta legislature.
They got murdered last time. They
Yeah,
deserve nothing. There's no point. If you're left wing, you vote for the NDP. If you're not, you vote for the other side.
yeah, I mean, um, I actually, again, I've said this before. I think I miss Kenny. I really do.
I thought he was a good man.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing how quickly voters' minds change. But I'll tell you which election is not close. It is the UK. Although, mind you, there's still like over a year for that to change.
No, there's election today. What are you talking about next year?
What's happening today?
The local elections.
Oh, oh, okay. This will be. What's the expectation?
It's going to be a massacre.
Labor is going to basically dominate.
Oh yeah.
I mean, is and
Which
for
is not, it's not, that's not unusual. I mean, 2011, 2012, and 2013 went poorly for the Tories too locally. So it's not surprising, but no, they're going to lose and it's going to be rough.
So
And they're going to lose next year too.
was this one on the map? Where I recall correctly, this one was on the map where Labor didn't do all that well. Like, if this is a 4-year cycle, um, then I believe that this was a map that Labor didn't get any gains, but you know who was the big gainer in that map? Lib Dems.
They're always the big gainer, which is funny because they deserve absolutely nothing. Their local people are absolutely horrible. Um, totally irredeemable just across the board. I mean, if I look at the areas that are up, it's going to be interesting. The Tories are lucky. A lot of the Southwest seats are not up. That's good.
Yeah.
Um,
Where's the map represented? Like, if it's in the east, then the conservatives should be able to defend that. But if it's up north, I'd be really curious to know how that would go.
Northern Ireland's up too. That'll be fun.
Oh wow, that's like I don't even know how the partisanship works there.
No, there is no partisanship. Ignore the colors. If it's colored, it's up.
Um, is or is it? I mean, is it the traditional debate between the DUP and Sinn Féin?
Almost certainly.
And who do you
But
expect
no, it's what?
who do you expect will come out on top?
Oh, Labor. They're going to win by probably 10, 20, or 10 to 15 points.
Well, I'm guessing that might be at the expense of the Lib Dems.
No, the Lib Dems will be in the upper teens as well.
Okay.
The
Because
Greens will be maybe the question I have is if the Greens will go into double digits, which hopefully they don't.
yeah, I mean the UK Greens, not the UK Greens, the European Greens have been a real disappointment for clean power lately, particularly in Germany.
They're that's exactly what they've always been. It's just they're being funny. They've always been funny.
Like we
Um,
oppose, yeah, like I feel like this is like you should do this like galaxy brain meme saying we oppose nuclear power, let's use coal instead.
Now, did you see where they had to close a wind farm to open a coal mine?
That happened. That happened.
I do believe so. Let's see. Let me see what I can
More
find the article for you.
absolute morons.
And yet, not surprising. No, they've been no, but I mean, the fundamental problem is just there's too many NIMBYists around, and the Lib Dems and the Greens are at the front of that list. So,
Really, Lib Dems are nimbious. That's unfortunate.
oh, way beyond everybody else. You ever seen Clarkson's Farm?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, here's the headline from an admittedly unreliable source. Wind farm in Germany is being dismantled to expand coal mine in North Rhine-Westphalia,
Wow. Just
which is
just
hilarious. Did you see? No, I think you said even Berlin got a right-wing mayor for the first time in a while.
um I think I might have did I say that?
I think you did say that.
I don't know. I mean, did has the mayor of Buenos Aires said he's gonna run in Argentina?
I hope not.
Really?
It's a single round system. Don't want to split the vote.
Well, I thought that would have been their best get.
Oh wait, is he the mayor now?
The guy who's mayor of Buenos Aires.
No, no, no. Did he get the? Wait a second. Where's this guy's face? Uh, no. Who are you thinking of?
Let me see here. Let's look up Buenos Aires. Yay. The mayor, let's see, does it say the mayor? Horacio Rodriguez. Laretta. HRL is basically Horacio Rodriguez Laretta.
Oh, no, I had no idea about this fellow. It looks like he has announced a few
Oh,
months ago, in fact. Looks
yeah.
like he would do very well, but it's a single round system, and I see a poll from last year with him where the left was at 29, he was at 29, and the libertarians were at 25. So that is going to be a problem.
Yeah. What is the term?
Unless they win, the libertarians are hardcore. They're you know
I
even
mean,
harder than the rest of us. But they made a mistake. Oh wait, why did they say second round? How I thought they had a single round system.
really?
Am I wrong?
I think Argentina it's two rounds, but
No, it's special. That's why they either have to get 55% or 40, while 10 ahead of. Okay, so there's probably no risk of splitting the vote there. So that's good.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I mean, what's it is it fair to say that the Lib Dems are comparable to the FDP in Germany?
No, the FDP are a reasonable party of businessmen. The Lib Dems are a protest party of idiots, college students mostly. Well, they used to be college students. They threw that base away, and now it's people who love Europe.
Yeah. Always been interested. I mean, I really didn't know who to support, and I mean, I knew in 2019 who I didn't want to support.
I would have voted for them just to keep them above the threshold.
Yeah. Um, apparent. Is the counteroffensive coming in Ukraine?
I've heard within a week.
Hmm. Within a week. Wow.
They'll plan it for VE Day.
Oh, they're really going to humiliate Putin.
Oh, they're going for it. I've heard rumors of huge numbers of Western armored vehicles, fresh units.
I've heard that
Um,
the Ukrainians are holding the line in the western edge of Bakhmut.
yeah, grinding out I mean, the casualties on both sides, admittedly, are absolutely enormous. But
I mean,
um,
Ukraine's doing what it has to do is making Russia pay the highest price possible for the city.
yeah, and wasting. I mean, you don't hear a lot,
And
Wagner laughing a lot
forcing
anymore.
Russia to basically wear the city down of all of its strategic value.
Yeah, well, it never had any strategic value to begin with, but
Right.
um, they, I expect the offensive will be launched across the river and just drive south as quickly as possible. That's why we've seen all the
Oh,
fuel
they're,
depots being blown up.
they're not going to go at Zaporizhia.
Defenses there are pretty harsh. They could, but
See, that's what I thought they were going to do. Is they're going to strike at Zaporizhia, drive out, take Melitopol, get to the sea. You split the Russian forces in half, and then force the Russians in Kherson back into Crimea, put Crimea under siege.
you could. But they've spent a lot of time building defenses in that area, and it's a bit obvious. You don't want this to be obvious.
Yeah. So you think they're going to try to cross the river, which nobody would expect?
Yeah. We'll hear of feints for probably a week. It'll take a while to determine where the bulk of the armor is going.
Mhm. I mean, here's an interesting question. If the counteroffensive fails, is it net would that be time for the US to reevaluate its support?
No, mostly because even if it does, it'll still capture huge amounts of territory.
Yeah. I mean, because I think right, it's do or die for Ukraine at this point. That a success could drive Russia out, but a failure could mean Russia solidifies its control.
Maybe. But I mean, even the first one, it took obviously quite a while to realize, just how devastating the attack was, in the Northeast.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
no, I mean Russia was driven back quickly. They
yeah,
were they were right outside Kharkiv. Now they're nowhere near Kharkiv.
yeah. I think the hard part is just how aggressively we're slow walking the most crucial assistance.
Yeah,
It's
no,
criminal, really.
it really is. I mean, why have countries been slow on in this department?
What do you mean countries? We're highest on the list.
Yeah, I mean, people have identified a core group of countries that'll probably not abandon Ukraine no matter what, and that is Poland, the Baltic states, Czech Republic, and also the UK.
Yeah.
Uh,
Although, admittedly, labor will be interesting to watch.
you think they could be wishy-washy on their support?
They could be. They haven't driven the left out entirely.
Yeah, I mean the support. I think they identified the places where the support could be soft, like the weak points being the United States, France, and Germany.
Well, France and Germany don't support it, so
Yeah. Has Germany sent any weaponry?
not really, and they were mad about the attacks in Russia.
Wow. Okay. Fill me in. I fell under the radar for me. What happened? Did the Ukrainians actually strike Moscow?
You don't read the news very often, do you?
I had a very busy day today. Give me a break.
Here's what happened. I personally don't think they did it. Personally, because I think they would have used a bigger grenade. Um, Partisans would be my guess, but if we take a look here,
Hmm?
I'm working on it.
But by the way, the link you sent me earlier was not. Oh,
So that's the Kremlin. Didn't even damage the flag. Like, what the hell?
it was a drone. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the drone thing they were talking about.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think I also saw apparently the Russians are putting weapons right next to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant.
I heard they were mining outside it.
Wow.
And by mining, I mean land mining.
Yeah, yeah, no, I got that. I got that. Um, they are that I just yeah, no. Russia sucks. They need to lose. But
Well, they all need to be dealt with, but that's a separate question.
and actually the whole what I heard explained was that the whole reason why Ukraine still exists and didn't go down as planned is because the Ukrainians had more or less had a consensus that Russia could go F itself.
Well, that and they thought they would fold easily.
Yeah.
And thus we're unprepared.
Well, I really am tired. So I mean, what else? I'm just looking quickly in my Twitter feed just to see if anything else is happening. Um, um, by the way, Ben Shapiro put out a tweet saying, I think this is the first strike I've ever supported because now it means those unfunny comedians won't be on TV anymore.
Not wrong. As I said, hopefully they're off for a while.
Apparently, was it Conan O'Brien who spent the better part of spent the last strike in 2007 just spinning a ring and seeing how long it spins for?
It sounds pretty funny, actually.
Actually curious to know if there are any shows like Bill Maher that might hire freelancers or if they're also going to be off the air.
I hope so. Off the air, that is.
Yeah, I mean, well, Bill Maher I think is one of the better ones. Um,
Not really. Still very far to the left. Conan's funny.
oh my
Or more
goodness.
precisely, his writers are funny.
Um, there's a tweet in my feed that apparently Planned Parenthood tweeted a tweet that said abortion is healthcare, and then there's a group called Vegans for Meat that retweeted it with an identical looking picture that says meat is vegan.
Both are about as accurate.
It's funny. But wow, this a lot of the stuff that we were talking about so a while ago is just a week ago has fallen out of the news coverage.
No, you really want to talk about news coverage. Why has every game release been such trash lately? Like, what is that?
I have
So
no
I pre-ordered Jedi Survivor, right? And it was garbage. Performance horrible. Like how can you publish games like that? Oh, is that not the issue you wanted to talk about?
um I wish. Let's see. Has there been any more news like any more drama at Daily Wire Central?
just how much of a terrible husband the one dude is. I've just I actually met him too.
You met Steven?
Yeah, he's been a jerk for a long time, but I didn't realize how much of a jerk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's always
Yeah, like here we have one county council. The Tories went from 15 seats to 7. Like that's about how the day is gonna work.
well. No, yeah, for those who are
Uh,
wondering that, yes, that was a yawn. I am exhausted beyond all belief.
well, I know in North Carolina there's been some very good news. The school choice one is almost done. Abortion one I think is still moving tonight. A vote will be coming for that soon. Um, so I've been doing some very, very solid things there. It's good to see a bunch that's actually somewhat competent. Fair
Uh,
enough these days.
whoa, wow. Um,
But I mean, even the abortion measure they had was something we should emulate in a lot of different places.
yeah. Wait, where, in which state?
North Carolina.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a good thing that North Carolina doesn't have ballot initiatives because in every single state that's had a ballot initiative on this topic, it's lost.
It probably would there too, but the measure, if the measure itself, or if what the bill they're putting up was subjected also to a referendum, it probably would succeed. It's exactly the right combination of only 12 weeks, which is nice, and then increased maternity leave and a bunch of other spending on a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
It looks like 150 million,
Apparently, they're gearing up for a vote in Ohio that would basically see Ohio that would repeal that abortion law in Ohio.
assuming the anti-referendum one doesn't pass too,
Yeah.
which it should because it's been a serious thorn in our side for a while. I haven't. We need to see some redistricting news out of Ohio. It's been a while.
Yeah, and North Carolina. There's like, I mean, like, when's the map? Where's the map? Where's the map? Where's the map? We should just be saying that to North Carolina lawmakers. Where's the map?
It's been a week.
Okay, fine. Be that way. Um. Oh yeah. Oh, did you see that the news that the U.S. is going to run out of money literally run out of money in a few weeks?
It was surprise. I'm surprised we pulled that vote off. I've never been so proud in my life.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Total waste of everybody's time. Negotiating would have been simpler, but the fact that we actually managed a majority, well, basically a majority for something is nothing short of a miracle, I think.
yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's both the progressives and no, sorry, I mean the moderates and the far right of the party have been talking a good game, but it's basically the hard right that's been getting their demands, whereas it's basically the moderates that have fallen in line.
As they should.
Yeah. Actually, that Drew Savicki's talked about this, how Republicans in swing districts actually vote like Republicans in deep red districts.
They don't, though, if you'll remember. They only say that because we don't vote on nonsense measures that are going to lose. But I mean, if you remember that old abortion vote from back in the day, the AHCA, um, there's plenty of times where we lose a bunch of people. They put their people out to pasture a lot more than we do, though.
Um, what are your plans for Star Wars Day?
Um, Wishing that Ahsoka was coming out now.
I didn't know how much of a gamer you were. We really should play video games sometime.
I wish I had the time. I bought with the money I refunded from Jedi Survivor. I bought Age of Wonders 4, and I haven't had a chance to play it yet.
All right, I feel like that's a good place to end on.
Yeah. Well, that and I mean next week is going to be huge. I mean, two Paradox DLCs. I mean, You're not gonna hear from me for a while.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I feel I continue going, but I'm just exhausted. So, Cameron, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.